Okay, let's dive into something truly fascinating today. We hear so much about the gut microbiome, right? That complex world inside our digestive system and how it affects everything from mood to immunity. But what if there's another microbial community, one we maybe don't talk about as much, one that's literally right under our noses and holds some really surprising keys? Today, we're doing a deep dive into the oral microbiome, the microbes in our mouths, and its emerging connection to autism spectrum disorder.
Yeah, it's an area that's really gaining a lot of traction. And it's incredibly intriguing how changes in our oral health, like the specific balance of microbes, could actually have these far-reaching effects, potentially even impacting neurodevelopmental conditions like ASD. So our mission today really is to explore this complex link and to understand why innovation in oral care, how we diagnose things, how we treat them, why that's becoming just so vital.
Right, because when most people hear microbiome, they think gut. And fair enough, it's huge, it's well studied. But this other community, the one in our mouths, it's really dynamic and it's finally getting the attention it deserves. It's kind of an emerging field. But the more we learn, the more we see its influence goes way beyond just cavities or gum health. We're really talking about a gateway to the body.
Absolutely. Think of the mouth like the body's front door, basically.
Yeah.
And the microbes living there, they're the first ones meeting everything that comes in food, air, everything. So when we talk about dysbiosis here, it means things are out of balance, an alteration in that community. Maybe some microbes are overgrown or the helpful ones are dwindling. And what's striking, what the research is pointing towards, is that this kind of oral imbalance seems, well, more common in people with ASD. We all know the gut-brain axis, that communication highway, but now we're seriously looking at an oral brain axis,
hmm
a potentially direct route for mouth microbes or their byproducts to influence what's happening in the brain. It's distinct from the gut, though likely connected too.
Okay, and when you connect that idea specifically to ASD, that's where it gets really compelling and honestly kind of challenging to think about because it's not just about which microbes are there, right? It's about the real world day-to-day challenges people with ASD face. Challenges that directly impact their oral health and shape that microbiome. I mean, imagine trying to brush your teeth. If the taste of mint isn't just strong, it's like an unbearable sensory attack.
Exactly. Or the texture of the toothpaste feels awful.
Or even the sound, the vibration of a toothbrush is just painful or jarring.
You've hit on absolutely critical points there. These challenges are so multifaceted. Sensory sensitivities are huge: taste, textures, sounds, vibrations, like you said. A simple dental visit can feel, well, overwhelming. Then you have things like behavioral rigidities. Routine is often key, but establishing a new consistent brushing routine, that can be incredibly tough. Communication limits can also make it hard to express pain or discomfort or understand hygiene instructions. And yeah, dietary preferences often lean towards softer, maybe sugary or starchy foods, which unfortunately are perfect fuel for certain bacteria.
The cavity-causing kind.
Precisely. So all these factors, they kind of create this perfect storm. It often leads to poorer oral hygiene and a higher risk for things like dental cavities and also gum disease, like gingivitis or the more serious periodontitis. And importantly, those diseases themselves are signs of dysbiosis. They mean the balance is already way off, harmful bacteria are taking over, and that chronic imbalance, well, that could be setting the stage for wider issues.
So it's this feedback loop. Daily challenges impact the mouth environment, which shapes the microbes, which, well, contributes back to the challenges maybe. So let's talk about the hard science. What are researchers actually finding in these big studies looking at the oral microbiome and ASD? Are the differences subtle, or are we seeing really distinct microbial landscapes?
No, the research is pointing to pretty distinct landscapes, definitely more than just subtle shifts. These large-scale studies, using metagenomics, basically reading all the microbial genes in a saliva sample, they consistently show different microbial community makeups in individuals with ASD compared to neurotypical controls. We're seeing genuinely unique profiles.
Unique profiles, okay.
Yeah, and researchers have even pinpointed specific types of bacteria that act as differentiating markers,
hmm
meaning their presence or how abundant they are can actually help distinguish between the groups. And what's really profound, sometimes the amount of certain bacteria seems to correlate with the level of cognitive impairment in ASD.
Wow, okay, that's a big connection. So the microbes might even reflect symptom severity.
It suggests that, yes, it's a correlation, but a very interesting one. And another fascinating finding, some studies show children with ASD might share fewer oral microbiome strains with their parents compared to neurotypical children, which could mean their microbes are acquired differently or maybe maintained differently due to diet, behavior, or perhaps underlying biology. It really highlights that we're looking at a distinct biological situation in their mouths.
That's incredible. So, given these unique challenges, the distinct microbes, the potential link to severity, the big question is how? How could these tiny organisms in the mouth actually influence something as complex as ASD? What are the proposed mechanisms?
Right, this is where we get into those axes, the oral gut and the oral brain. It's likely a combination of pathways. One major route seems pretty direct. Oral bacteria, particularly the ones linked to chronic gum inflammation like periodontitis, they can actually get through the inflamed gum tissue.
Into the bloodstream.
Exactly, into the bloodstream. Think of it like a small, persistent leak. Once these bacteria, or often pieces of them, like their cell walls, specifically something called lipopolysaccharides, or LPS, once that's circulating.
LPS, that sounds familiar. Isn't that a major trigger for inflammation?
Precisely. It's a potent inflammatory signal, a real alarm bell. And when that alarm is ringing systemically throughout the body, it can cause widespread, low-grade inflammation. This chronic inflammation is a known player in neuroinflammatory processes, essentially, inflammation in the brain. And neuroinflammation can really disrupt things. It can mess with metabolic activity in the central nervous system, potentially impair how neurons function, alter neurotransmitters. It's increasingly thought to contribute directly to ASD symptoms. It's like constant background noise interfering with brain function.
Okay, so that's the direct route: leaky gums, inflammatory signals traveling, potentially reaching and affecting the brain. What about the indirect route?
Well, that involves the gut. We're constantly swallowing our oral bacteria, right? If your oral microbiome is out of balance, you're swallowing a different mix of microbes. And these swallowed microbes can absolutely influence the composition and the function of your gut microbiome. And we know the gut microbiome has established links to the brain via the gut-brain axis, and that this axis is often implicated in ASD. So the mouth can influence the gut, and the gut can influence the brain.
It's like a chain reaction.
Sort of, yeah. So you have potential direct effects on the brain from oral inflammation, and indirect effects mediated through changes in the gut microbiome. Really shows how interconnected everything is. Oral health isn't just about the mouth.
No, clearly not. This paints a picture where oral microbiome issues aren't just something separate that happens alongside ASD, but potentially a really significant intertwined factor, a comorbidity, as you said. So this understanding, it must change how we think about solutions, right? What does this mean for, practical innovations in oral care? How can this knowledge actually help people?
This is exactly where the science needs to lead to action, and where the need for innovation is just so clear. Seeing oral dysbiosis this way opens up really exciting possibilities, both for diagnosis and for treatment. Think about diagnostics first. Imagine if we could identify specific oral microbiome signatures, maybe certain bacteria, or patterns using something simple and non-invasive, like just an oral swab.
Like the ones used for DNA tests.
Exactly like that. Easy, painless. If those signatures could act as early biomarkers for ASD risk, that could be huge. Early detection allows for early intervention, which we know makes a massive difference in long-term outcomes for individuals with ASD. It's about identifying potential issues sooner.
Wow, okay. A simple mouth swab as part of earlier screening, that's a potential game changer.
It really could be. And then there's the therapeutic side. This is where innovation in actual oral care comes in. We need to move beyond just telling everyone to brush and floss the same way. We need targeted strategies. Understanding an individual's specific microbial imbalance could let us tailor interventions. Maybe that means developing specific oral probiotics, beneficial bacteria designed to thrive in the mouth and restore balance. Or maybe specialized toothpastes or mouthwashes formulated to selectively target the problematic bacteria identified in dysbiosis.
So really personalized oral care based on someone's unique microbiome.
That's the goal. Highly specific, scientifically driven approaches, not one size fits all. And the really exciting prospect is that these kinds of interventions wouldn't just improve oral health, reducing cavities, gum disease, which is important in itself. They might also potentially influence the bigger picture. By reducing that systemic inflammation, by positively influencing the oral gut and oral brain connections, they could potentially impact neurological and behavioral aspects of ASD too. But, and this is important, we need more research. Continued rigorous research into this whole interplay, oral microbiome, gut microbiome, brain, ASD, is absolutely crucial. That's what will fuel the development of truly effective, holistic, and personalized support. The potential for innovation in oral care here is enormous.
Yeah, what we've really unpacked today just shows how the health of our mouth, that whole invisible world in there, it might be way more connected to our overall well-being, even our brain health and development, than most of us ever imagined. It's just such a powerful reminder that our bodies are these incredibly connected systems. Nothing works in isolation, does it?
Not at all. And if you connect this to the bigger picture, understanding something seemingly local, like the microbes in our mouth, could actually unlock these much more holistic, integrated ways to approach complex conditions like ASD. It really invites us, to rethink where we look for answers and just how deeply interconnected our bodies truly are. It challenges us to look beyond the obvious.
So maybe the next time you brush your teeth, you'll think a little differently about that invisible world inside your mouth and its surprising, really far-reaching potential. It's a small world, yes, but clearly one with massive implications for health and a really vital frontier for innovation.